New House Speaker Mike Johnson says aid to Israel will be considered on the House floor this week. The catch? It will be a standalone measure. That's despite President Biden's call for Congress to provide a broader package that also includes aid to Ukraine. During an interview yesterday with Fox News, Speaker Johnson expressed confidence that the standalone measure would pass.
There are lots of things going on around the world that we have to address, and we will. But right now, what's happening in Israel takes the immediate attention, and I think we've got to separate that and get it through. I believe there'll be bipartisan support for that, and I'm going to push very hard for it.
Do you believe there'll be bipartisan support in the Senate? Will it pass muster there?
I think it will. My intention is not to use this for any partisan political gamesmanship. This is a very serious matter.
Earlier this month, the White House asked Congress to provide more than $105 billion in aid to Ukraine and Israel, as well as some other national security needs. Before he was elected Speaker, then just Congressman Johnson voted last month with 93 other Republicans to cut off aid to Ukraine. But during an interview he did on Fox the day after he was sworn in, Johnson did emphasize the U.S. must stop Russia's advances. So, joining us now to help make sense of it, co-founder of Punchbowl News, Anna Palmer. She is also an MSNBC contributor. Anna, good to see you this morning. So let's talk about the Speaker's proposal that he floated this weekend on television there. A standalone aid measure for Israel. What are you and your colleagues learning about what it will look like, how much money, and what's the timing?
I think it reflects a broader feeling within certainly House Republicans, but that they don't want to just jam a bunch of different issues that they feel are actually separate and put them together into these kind of larger packages, which we have historically seen Congress do. I think the biggest thing to watch here, though, is the fact that not even that he's just separating out the Israel funding, but that Speaker Johnson wants to have this emergency funding offset. That's basically unheard of. So they're going to try to find some kinds of cuts. We don't have any indication yet what those cuts would look like. But that's a real effort in terms of to kind of increase the number of Republicans who'd be willing to support this package. And then it goes to the Senate where you have a very different viewpoint, right? Where you have Mitch McConnell and others saying, actually, no, we should be twinning these issues, the Ukraine funding as well as the Israel funding.
So, Anna, we heard from Matt Gaetz last week talk about how pushing out Speaker McCarthy was worth it because they now have a more MAGA-friendly speaker now in Johnson, and we've been into it. And we should never lose sight of the fact that he was a leader in the effort to decertify Joe Biden's win. How do we think that's going to play out? And is there any sense that the motion to vacate, which now just needs one person to trigger it, could change?
Well, there is an effort underway to try and change the motion to vacate to have it be a threshold of 112 or not. It's unclear if that's actually going to get any real vote and kind of momentum there. I do think that Speaker Johnson has a little bit more latitude, certainly more so than Kevin McCarthy. House Republicans want to move forward. I think there's a lot of frustration, embarrassment over what happened over the last month where they were unable to elect a speaker. They had to go through this kind of very tough process of individual soul searching coming up with Johnson, who, of course, is a fairly new figure for a lot of folks in terms of what his roles and responsibilities will look like. He's still just even putting together his staff, Jonathan. So I don't think we quite know how he's going to approach this. I do think his openness on Ukraine funding is something that a lot of us were trying to understand where he would stand as a leader versus maybe where he was as just a member of the House.
And lastly, do we have any sense as to the outreach from the White House, what the relationship might be between the West Wing and the new speaker?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is all new for Mike Johnson, right? He certainly was not a regular on the phone or at the White House with President Joe Biden. He didn't even really have a relationship with many Senate Republicans, right? I mean, some of them are saying they had to Google him to kind of learn more about him. And so I think it's a really unknown commodity when it comes to what he's going to be like, how he's going to govern. But certainly everybody's kind of watching the early tea leaves here because, of course, don't forget, we have government funding that runs out on November 17th, and how he deals with that is going to be something that is going to be really critical in terms of whether or not we are headed towards a government shutdown.
Yeah, there's some sense that the hard right just might be too exhausted to fight for a shutdown right now, but we will find out. Co-founder of Punchbowl News, Anna Palmer, thank you as always for joining us this morning.